Hey everyone, welcome to another Dan Fan video. Now, those of you who have stuck around on this channel for a while now know that I have been quite critical of Funimation dubs. I've made a couple videos talking about it. I've talked about how changing the translation can completely change a scene, and I've talked about how it's a little bit concerning that now not only will Funimation have control of how they translate things and whether or not it gets to be accurate, but also they are part of production committees that will change the anime directly, change the story, change the characters, whatever they want to vouch for changing. And now we have people at Funimation telling us that as we're being critical of this, we are wrong for doing so. In fact, not only are we wrong, we're misogynists. So Jamie Marchi, now some of you might not have heard Jamie Marchi's name for a while now. The last I remember of her is the whole Vic Mignogna case, which most of the anime community has agreed was handled very poorly. Now to be fair, this was actually a retweeted clip of her at a panel in 2018.
Funimation has come under, let's call it, criticism for how they choose to adapt their scripts for
like
a couple of
unnecessary
shows.
hate. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
To the criticism, like, I have a vagina, deal with it. Like, it's, honestly, that's the truth. I am a woman. I am a funny woman. We are all talented, funny, powerful women. We are out here. It's going to happen. Deal with it. I'm sorry you're not getting laid. It's not about you. Move on. But here's my feeling. Anytime I make, like, if I'm making misogynists and Nazis angry, then I'm doing all right. Honestly, we don't want them associated with our fandom. They are not representative of us, and they will stand out and try to own this fandom. And I'm like, you don't realize.
So basically, she just kind of dismisses any criticism like, oh, it's only misogynists, it's only Nazis. Those are my only enemies. Anyone who criticizes me must be a misogynist, must be a Nazi. There's no other explanation. I'm a woman, of course. Anyone who criticizes a woman has to be a sexist. So this was tweeted out in a positive light, I should add. And Marchi responded to this saying, "Thank you for sharing this. I think the only reason I have guts is because I didn't have any other choice." And then she continued to speak on this. She said, "When Gamergaters attacked me, shouldn't that be like anime gators? I mean, what does Gamergate have to do with anime?" And I don't even think people who are against these types of agendas being inserted in anime even call themselves AnimeGate. I don't think they call themselves any gate, so I don't know why she's just associating this with Gamergate. I don't know the story behind that. "When Gamergaters attacked me over a line in prison school that I neither wrote nor directed, my career as I knew it was over. Everything I wrote was gone, with a fine-toothed comb looking over any changes that could be twisted to an agenda I never had." Oh, so you never had a feminist agenda. So why are you attributing dub changes to your sex? Why are you saying, oh, it's a good thing that we're pissing off misogynists? I thought you didn't have an agenda. I thought you weren't trying to piss off anybody. "The days of adapting for shows like Panty and Stocking, Hitalia, Spice and Wolf, and others were gone. There seems to be little complaints with shows I wrote before Prison School came out." No. I did so much complaining over Hitalia. And that was before I even had this YouTube channel. I was like on forums and other places complaining about all the changes that the dub made to Hitalia, especially like season 2. That was like a breaking point for me because they changed everything, every single joke. And it was so unfunny when they changed it. They made it less funny. They took funny jokes and then they were like, let's take the funny out of them. And I remember like being on those forums talking about how disappointed I was in the Hitalia dub, and I was like, why do they think it's okay for them to just completely change the script? And people would comment back to me and be like, oh, you're nitpicking. You're just nitpicking the translation. They have to Americanize it, of course. They took a normal joke and made it unfunny. And then she wants to be up on the panel like, I'm a funny woman. We're all funny women. No! The whole problem is that you think you're funny when you're changing the translations of these dubs and they're not funny. That's the whole problem. This is what I've been complaining about for years. You think you're funny, but you're not. You think it's okay to just change a joke to your joke because your joke is better. All I want is an accurate translation. And so long as Funimation provides us an accurate translation, we won't blame them for bad jokes. We'll blame the writers, the actual writers of the show. The actual creators of the show. But when you're the ones changing up the jokes, when you're the ones making the dubs worse, it's your fault. That's how it goes. Now, I don't know what the heck happened with her in prison school and why she got blamed for a joke that she didn't write. I never heard about any of that. I've heard about the prison school dub being bad, but I didn't hear that she was the one responsible for that by anyone. But when you publicly advocate for changing the dub and try to convince people that it's the right thing to change the translation, I can only imagine that people will want to turn to you when a translation is changed and people don't like it, because then they'll be like, oh, what about this translation? You think this is a good translation? Even if you're not the one who wrote it, you're still like pro rewriting it. I receive relentless hate for a handful of lines I wrote years ago. Overall, that's less than 1% of the lines I have ever written while adapting scripts for anime. Statistically, their complaints should be a compliment. 99% is a pretty high approval rating. I feel tempted to check her math, because we all know that women can't do math. You see, I can make that joke because I'm a woman. Regardless, this statement seems to be going in like a different direction compared to like all her other statements on the matter, because she's trying to make it out to seem like, oh, that was years ago. I don't do that now, and I barely did it when I did do it. But if you want to make the statement that you're not going to do it anymore, make the statement that you're not going to do it anymore instead of being like, yeah, I did it, and I was this proud, powerful, funny woman for doing so. Instead, I am relentlessly criticized. Well, wait a minute, criticized isn't the same thing as being attacked. You better get your story straight. But look, criticism is not inherently a bad thing. You don't have to look at criticism and be scared of it. If anything, you should probably see criticism as the anime fandom telling you what they want, and clearly what they don't want. I think all of us can learn a lot from criticism. If we choose to look at criticism, ignore it, and then keep doing what we're doing, then it's probably our own fault when we keep on getting the same criticisms. If you follow anime, you've seen the memes and changes I've made for adaptation, and while there's been some support, I've been generally left to deal with the harassment alone. It's been my problem. So we went from criticism to harassment in one tweet. I think she's trying to say that they're the same exact thing, which would not surprise me if she actually believes that. It had also been made clear to me that if I did stand up for myself and refused to take the harassment like a good girl— did she just refer to herself as a good girl? That just seems like such a weird word to refer to yourself as. That's like something I imagine people saying to their dog, like, who's a good girl? I would no longer have a job. Meanwhile, the harassment grew. I was in a show that used the term SJW. The harassers assumed I must have been behind it. He goes on to say, I did not write or direct that show. Like Prison School, the writers and directors were men, but yet again, that did not matter. I was the one who received death threats. I was the one in the continued public campaign of harassment. Now, obviously, death threats are a no-no, guys. I want to make that clear. Death threats are not cool. Legitimately, no matter how annoying someone is online, don't send them death threats. Again, I was left to deal with it alone. Believe it or not, I ignore the vast majority of harassment I receive. Before February 2019, I almost never responded. Once again, I feel like I need to check our math on that. Don't feed the trolls, right? Yet my silence never silenced them or prevented them from telling me to kill myself. You know, I feel like more so people want assurance that this isn't going to keep happening and that it's not going to get worse and worse. And we never really get that assurance. It's just kind of like, oh, you're all a bunch of misogynists. If you don't like it, you must be part of Gamergate. If you don't like it, you must be the Nazi. And that's just not fair. That's just not a fair response to us. I feel like everyone's been pretty clear. They just want an accurate translation. They don't want this whole anti-Gamergate to be inserted into their anime. Most people don't give a shit about Gamergate, and is barely relevant today. And I have no doubt that Jamie Marchi has probably gotten some death threats in her life, mainly because there was a lot of hot water on her during the Vic Mignogna situation. But she's not gonna mention that, probably because she knows how the public feels about it. So she's gonna attribute all of it to her old lines that she rewrote years ago, and she's going to mention one line in prison school that she got blamed for despite not writing. So if you wonder why I'm so loud, why I fight back, why I scream my opinion, it's because I have to. Otherwise, I won't be heard. Well, wait a minute. Didn't you say that you would lose your job if you did that, therefore you couldn't do that? And I won't let monsters online and certain elements of the industry make me feel like my voice isn't worthy of being heard. You shouldn't either. So this is a really, really weird thread, I gotta say. Because it starts off with her saying that she never had an agenda, and only mentioning one line that she got blamed for that she didn't actually rewrite. So I guess she's trying to use that one line to like associate the idea that she's not to blame for any dub changes, so that people should just leave her alone, I guess? While simultaneously retweeting this video where she says that anyone who dislikes the changes we made to the dub is just Nazis, misogynists, no one worthy of even being in the fandom. You should never criticize a Funimation dub, otherwise you shouldn't even be in the fandom. Get out of here, loser. Now, like I said before, I have always been very critical of Funimation's dubs for a long time. And it's part of the reason why there's a whole crowd of people who say subs over dubs, because they think that the subtitled version is a more accurate translation and therefore better. Now, I don't think all the blame should go to Jamie Marchi. I think there are tons of other people who should be held responsible for changing these dubs. I think Funimation in general should be criticized for changing these dubs. And I think a lot of people will look the other way when it comes to Funimation changing up the dubbed version, because they just want to be able to enjoy the anime even if they have to watch the subs. Some people will just pirate it instead. But I watch a lot of random anime with Adam, and there are a lot of animes that are dubbed with Funimation, and sometimes they'll just throw out these kind of hot words in there, like sexist, misogynist, SJW, Gamergate, millennial, and every time they're throwing out these words, me and Adam just kind of look at each other like, And sometimes it is like so bad that I have to turn it off. And Adam doesn't like watching subtitled versions, so we just turn on a different anime. We don't finish it. So it's very simple. You want to make your fans happy? Just provide them more accurate translations. Just stop trying to be funny with these dub changes. Stop trying to be relevant. Stop trying to throw in your own personal opinion on Gamergate. I don't care. No one cares. We just wanted to watch the anime. Now, like I said before, I think a lot of heat that Marchi may be getting is mostly from the Vic Mignogna situation. I had not heard of her name before that. Yes, I had seen the dub changes flying around, but I had not heard her specific name be mentioned when it came to those dub changes until after the Mignogna situation, because she shed a very bright spotlight on herself during that. But this whole attacking the fans thing, this has got to stop. And you got to stop finding comfort in yes men. Yes men who will just agree with anything that you say are not people who can give you valid criticism. They're not people who can actually help you become a better person. But anyway, this video is already getting to be a little bit longer than I had anticipated. As I've said before, I'm very critical of Funimation. I've made multiple videos about it. Maybe I should make even more videos about it. I've become very untrusting of them to accurately dub anime. I've become very skeptical of whatever inner club they have going on in Funimation with these voice actors, and I've been critical of how these voice actors flirt with their fans. That is, when they're not calling them misogynists. But anyway, let me know what you personally think about this whole situation, what you think about Marky and her statements from 2018 being brought up again and her whole thread about it. Also remember to like the video if you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye!
Program restart.